simplicity and understand that the key to learning is simplicity and repetition. You've got to hear the same things 50 different ways on 50 different days. So it bears repeating. And I'm going to come at you a little spiritual. And we are morally grounded and spiritually rooted people, the most morally grounded and spiritually rooted culture on earth. So I'm sure you can handle it. We are here to live a life on purpose. In fact, the purpose of life is really simple because God needs for everyone to understand it. So the purpose of life is not complicated. We make things complicated. God doesn't make things complicated. We make things complicated for a number of reasons. One of them is so that we don't have to do it. The more complicated we can make something, the more reasons we have for not doing it. The other reason we tend to make things complicated is to control power. The more complicated I could make something, Brian, the more, and the less you understand it, the more power I have over you. We had a wonderful example of that when the 2008 economic crash, something went on that 98% of the world didn't even understand. It was called credit default swaps, which sent the American economy and other global economies to a crash. We didn't understand it. We did after everything crashed, but it was a well-kept secret among the elite few in the banks. But it sent the world in an economic crash. So I'm now going to unpack for you in less than 30 seconds the purpose of life. And I say this with humility. You will never be able to unhear this, and you'll never, ever, for the rest of your life, be able to say, you don't know this, because I'm going to tell you. The purpose of life is to love, to give, to serve, and to add the highest value to somebody or something every minute of every day of your life. There simply is no other reason for you to be here. So hopefully you are living a life on purpose. Now, how would I know that? I would know it because you love what you're doing. I've never met anyone who hated what they were doing and was good at it. You love what you do. That God has put each of us here with a unique purpose in mind. There's a job that he has assigned only you to do. And if you do not do it, it will not get done in the universe. It is your job. Right? So you must attack life. Do not allow life to attack you. So think about that for a moment. I'll begin my presentation and I'll keep it as brief as I can with a little piece that I call the struggle. Now, as an elder at 77 years old, yes, I'm 77 years old. I know I look 35 or 40, but you know, black don't crack, right?
Right.
I hope you look this good and sound this good when you're close to 80. Okay. And I say that with love in my heart and a smile on my face. I'm appreciative. The average Black man lives to be 67. I'm 10 years on Jesus time. And I pray that you have the same luck as you grow older and wiser. We are all drinking from wells that we did not dig, that we are standing on the shoulders of giants. A 350-year fight. "17 generations have fought and died for our freedom. A 250-year fight to get free from slavery, from 1619 to 1964. I'm sorry, 1864. That was our fight for freedom, our fight to put slavery behind us. A 100-year fight for civil rights, voting rights, and public access. From 1864, the minute we became free, to 1964. We must never, ever, ever forget this, brothers and sisters. So now the deeper question is this: are we worthy of this legacy? And if you feel that we are worthy of this 17-generation legacy, the deeper question than that is, what then will be our legacy? What will be the legacy of generation X, Y, Z, and generation Alpha? My children, his children, their children, and their children. What will Black people be saying about X, Y, and Z and generation Alpha 150 to 200 years from now? Now, I'm a baby boomer. I'm the oldest of all baby boomers. Our legacy is already in concrete. We were responsible with Dr. King for civil rights, voting rights, fair housing, etc., etc. That's our legacy. If you're X, Y, Z, or Generation Alpha, you cannot claim that. So the question will be, what will you claim? What will you do? It is my prayer that our legacy as Black people do not end in this country with the civil rights struggle. It is my prayer that the legacy of succeeding generations will be economic development and wealth creation, closing the income and wealth gap between Black folk and white folk. That's what my prayer is for you. So I'll say this, and I want to say this and still be loved. I've said it many times. White people will not be saving Black people. I'm sorry. It's been 400 years and we ain't saved. As Barack Obama told us in 2016, when he was running for the presidency, we are the ones we are waiting for. This is our responsibility. Part 2 of the struggle. When I was 17, running the streets of Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, New York, 1962, I happened to stumble into a speech. I happened to be running the streets of Harlem on that day, and I stumbled into a speech that was given by Stokely Carmichael. Stokely Carmichael, for those of you who don't know or don't remember, changed his name to Kwame Ture, and he was the revolutionary ally of Dr. King. He was a stone cold revolutionary. And what I didn't realize at the time, Stokely Carmichael said something that became the North Star of my life. He seeded that in my subconscious mind. I'm going to give you that quote. It's very short, verbatim. Stokely Carmichael. No Black person in this country makes any advancement solely based on his or her talent or worth. All individual advancement is based on mass struggle. We make no progress in this world without shedding our blood. Therefore, your advancement and success does not belong to you. It belongs to the people. And if you do not use your success or advancement for the benefit of your people, it is a betrayal of the people who shed their blood for you. They paid it forward. We have a moral and spiritual responsibility to do the same thing. That we must model Black Excellence 2.0. Just a reframing of the term Black Excellence. What does it mean, Dr. Fraser? It means for us, excellence is the base. We cannot be mediocre. Only white people can be mediocre. We saw that with Donald Trump as compared to Barack Hussein Obama. If Barack Hussein Obama had said or done 1/1000th of what Donald Trump had said or done in this country, he wouldn't have been elected a dog catcher in this country, let alone leader of the free world. We must be excellent. And my mama taught me many years ago, I hope your parents told you this too. My mother said, Georgie boy, you're going to have to be twice as good to get half as much, because if you're Black and mediocre in America, you better leave, because you're going to be marginalized and you will ultimately be destroyed in this country as a Black man. Now, she said that to me 70 years ago. As a kid. She was right then, and she is still right. So Black Excellence 2.0 means excellence is our base, exceptionalism is our goal. Toni Morrison said it a little bit differently. Toni Morrison said, if you are free, you need to free somebody else. She said, if you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. The famous Dr. John Henrik Clarke from Harlem, philosopher, mentor to Malcolm X, said it differently, but simply. He said, take what you do best and do it for your people. I took that to heart. And what I've been doing for the majority of my life, even when I was employed in leadership positions with Procter Gamble, vice president of United Way, and 3 years as an executive with Ford Motor Company. I was to be one of the first Black minority or Ford minority dealer owners in Ohio. I went through a 2-year program. I decided I didn't want to sell cars. I wanted to teach people the power of the human connection. Of course, my wife looked at me like I was insane. Now, there's nothing wrong with selling cars. I could have become a millionaire, but that's not what God had put me here to do. Now it is clear to me that I made the right decision. Part 3 of this talk, the power of the human connection as it relates to wealth, as it relates to business. Let me say that a little bit differently. Business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business you're really in case no one has ever told you, is the business of building relationships. That's the business you're really in. You really want to know what your wealth is? It's your connections. It's the people that know you, love you, and respect you. Genesis 1:31. And God saw everything that he made, And behold, he said it was good. There's only one time in the Bible that God did not like what he produced. But this is God, and he was not happy with something he produced. And by the way, if you want to verify it, look in Genesis 2:18. And the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him. He took a rib from Adam, and now we have the baddest sisters on the planet. There's also another biblical declaration for the human connection. It's a direct quote from Jesus Christ. There are 800,000 words in the Bible. Only 1,200 are direct quotes from Jesus Christ. It's John 5:30. Read it. And Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing. Now, this was Jesus. Jesus, the Son of God. He couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. So what's up with you? Why would you think you could do anything significant, anything worth talking about on your own by yourself in a vacuum? In fact, you cannot. God has designed us, and we were the first. That's not hype, that's science. The first human remains were found in the Old Divide Gorge in Ethiopia. You're hanging out in Ethiopia, you're blue-black. I've been to Ethiopia. It's considered the Vatican of Africa, the holiest country in Africa. We were the first. You know, I often wondered why God made Black people first, when he preaches in the Bible that we should worship a God in our own image. And he made Black people first. Was God Black? Why would he make us first? I'm talking about blackety black. Why would God make us first? I finally figured it out. We are the only people on earth that can make all colors of people. Two white people cannot make a Black person, and neither can two Asians. We have the strongest and most powerful DNA. That's the upside. The downside is we actually don't know who we are as a people. We don't really understand how awesome and freaking powerful we are. We suffer from low race esteem. When I get up in the morning and I look in the mirror and I do not love what I see, there's no way that I can love you, because you become a reflection of me. That's low race esteem driven by low self-esteem. And when you have low race esteem, you do not trust your own kind. So not only has that seed been planted, not only do the stereotypes so popular in American media infect and affect white people, it also infects and affects us. We believe the same shit too. We do not understand that we are the children of the slaves that would not die, that we have the genetic encoding of the great kings and queens of Africa, that we were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in caves, eating each other, practicing cannibalism. And if everything happens for a reason and serves us in some special way, and we will never understand the reason looking forward, we will only understand it looking backwards, if in fact that is the truth, and it is the truth. Maybe we were not brought here. Maybe we were sent here. Do you believe that God would put his weakest people here to do his toughest job? I don't think so. How could an America who could morally, spiritually, and biblically justify the kidnapping, raping, and pillaging of another two people, natives already in America and Africans brought to America, have any moral or spiritual grounding? And perhaps had God not sent Africans here, America might have self-destructed by now. That's how powerful we are, but we don't get it. I get it. but most of us don't. God's love of connection is clear. He gave us two ways to ensure connection. He wants us to produce more of his children to serve us and for us to serve. I already explained to you what the purpose of life was. So he gave us two ways to facilitate that. Genius. He gave us sex and money to facilitate the creation of more of his children. We're motivated by sex with ecstasy. In other words, there's nothing you can feel, I don't care what you do, the ecstasy of good love. There's nothing equal to that. But that is not the purpose of sex. The purpose of sex is procreation. That's the purpose of sex. Now, there's a hell to pay with sex, by the way, too. Because if you procreate children and you screw them up, oh, your life will be a living hell. And we all know people whose life is a living hell. They have screwed up the raising of their own children. The second is money. Damn, Dr. Fraser, that sounds strange. What is the primary motivation for money? Service. When you develop skills to serve people, you earn money. The more skills you have, the more people you serve, the more money you make. Beyonce and Jay-Z have mad skills. Some would call them gifts, but also skills. And when they serve people, they serve 100,000 at a time in a freaking stadium. And they earn a little piece from everybody. If you're speaking and writing, you're serving. So whatever skill you have developed and you're keeping on developing it, the more certificates of appreciation you will receive. That's just another name for money. Certificates of appreciation. So Karen, if I serve you and, you know, my fee is $500 an hour, let's say I was a lawyer, I would expect after serving you in ways that you need and want and helps to resolve your challenges, that you will repay me with 500 certificates of appreciation or $500. Malcolm Gladwell, the great writer, one of my favorite authors, I hope you are familiar with his work, said the most common attributes of the rich are friends, contacts, and connections. In other words, he said, rich people have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends. I have a massive network, 1.2 million people in my network. So in 50 years of service, I've aggregated about 1.2 million people who I serve and who serve me. They show up at the conferences I do, the webinars I do, they buy the books that I write, right? They're serving me by investing in what I have built skills to produce, and I serve them by giving information and knowledge and training, right? And things that are valuable to them. Let me say that a different way. I said it earlier, but I want to re-emphasize it. You measure your wealth, brothers and sisters, by other people. The human connection is what God wanted for all of his children. So your responsibility as you develop your skills so that you can learn more and thus earn more, which is consistent and congruent with the mission, vision, and promise of FraserNet, now 35 years old. What is our promise? To help you connect, grow, and prosper so that you can learn, earn, and return. We have a lot of us learning and a lot of us earning, but not enough of us returning. Therein lies our problem. Bottom line, it's one human being serving another. And without other people to serve you and you them, you have nothing but just a bunch of good damn ideas. I call the human connection customer service. And for me, customer service is close to worship service. Additionally, many is always smarter than one. I must repeat that. That's so stupid simple. Many is always more productive and smarter than one. We make money by giving, not taking. So you must give until it hurts and then give until it feels good. And as you give, you get. If you ain't giving nothing, you ain't getting nothing. If you have nothing, it's because you've given nothing. That you cannot take out of life that which you have not put into life, just as you cannot take out of the damn bank that which you have not put into the bank. Don't believe me? Go to Bank of America, try to take something out of that white man's bank that you have not put in there. Let's see what happens for you. It's the same thing with life. It's a metaphor for life. Now, let me make this clear. Money alone does not make you happy. It's how you earn it. It's how you share it. And whether you read the Bible or not, I can promise you there's a deal that God has made with you, and it's clear in the Bible. The deal is very simple. Of all that you earn, you keep 90% of it, and you give 10% of it away. That's the deal. That's a pretty good deal. That's the commission that you have to pay God by serving others. Now, wealth, and I'm finished on this point. God prefers equity versus debt. But the nature of all money is debt converted to equity. I didn't go over anybody's head, did I? Let me clarify that. You go into debt to buy a home, which ultimately turns into equity as it increases in value. You take your earnings and you invest it, let's say, in a skills development or college degree. Why? Because that knowledge ultimately converts to what? Equity. The greater your connectivity, the greater your growth. And every tool that's ever been invented that has improved connectivity, radio, television, phones, the internet, has produced growth. The way I am the ability I have to connect today versus 40 years ago. Now remember, I was a grown-ass man before the internet. Let me close this part with two little quotes I posted on my social media. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn the most. I posted these two little quotes. I post every single day. I've been on Facebook for 12 years, every single day. I have thousands of posts. My posts are either inspirational, aspirational, instructional, and provocative, instructional, I should say, or funny. These two are not funny. They're related to what I was just preaching. The capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill. The willingness to learn is a choice. What's the difference between a smart man and a wise man? Don't answer the question, it's rhetorical. A smart man knows exactly what he wants. Same thing with a smart woman, he or she wants. That's what a smart man or woman wants. A wise man or woman knows exactly what they don't want. Been there, done that, got that t-shirt and umbrella. 77 years, I know exactly what I don't want. Final little quote. Speak in such a way that others love to listen to you. Listen in such a way that others love to speak to you. Okay. These are all skills that one develops to be a master networker. Why is networking important for business? You get a chance to meet and connect potential clients. You get a chance to get outside your business and open up yourself to new ideas. It builds your confidence and it gives you exposure. You gain support and knowledge from people who are further along in business, in their profession than you are. It's critical. Relationships are critical. You're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. I've said this 1,000 times. Introduce me to your 5 closest friends, and that will tell me who you are. As they know and as they go, so go you. If you hanging out with 5 broke people, I promise you, within 12 months, you'll be the 6th broke person. The fastest way to change yourself is to hang out with people who are already where you want to be. What am I saying to you? I'm saying to you, don't spend major time with minor people. People going nowhere want you to go nowhere with them. People doing nothing want you to do nothing with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships. If you are not where you want to be in life, it's because you don't have the right people in your life. And that's on you. When you point the finger at somebody else, there are 4 fingers pointing right back at you. Those are decisions that you have made. Man up and woman up. Sisters, let me give you a piece of advice. I've been married to the same sister for 50 years. Let me give you some advice. If you can't build with them, don't chill with them. If they ain't wearing a diaper, you can't change them. And let me give you some more advice. Be careful how you play your hand when you have yeah. Be careful how you play your cards, I should say, when you have a king in your hand. And brothers, the reverse is true when you have a queen in your hand. The most important decision you will make in your life is your life partner. We talk about power networking. You better get that shit right. Do that 2 or 3 times and see what your life looks like. We're talking power networking here. That's what we're talking. And to power network, you better bone up on emotional intelligence. I'll put a pin in that. I've got about 10 minutes left, and then we're going to open it for questions. I actually did not intend to be this intense today, but something came over me. I actually don't know what. It was just a moment. It was an energy. And I just sort of said to myself in the quiet of my own mind, Doc, today, straight no chaser. Make it plain. Speak truth to power. Speak out of your own life. They can get fluff later. I ain't fluff. I'm from Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn, New York. And they say if you're from Bed-Stuy, you're either a thug or a gangster. I'm a gangster. And you need to be too. There's a little talk that I give. We don't have enough time for the entire talk. Maybe we'll make it part 2 on the 7 biggest mistakes we make when networking that will ruin your reputation and destroy your business. It's a life-changing talk. We don't do it. We don't network like we should. We don't understand the power of connecting the dots and leveraging more effectively our collective resources and intellectual capital. That has to change. And I'm depending on, and the elders are depending on generations X, Y, and Z. And Generation Alpha. You know why they call it Generation Alpha, by the way? I don't know if anyone has told you. Once we get to Generation Z, and Generation Z has already been born, they start the alphabet all over again. So the kids born of Generation Z will be Generation A, Alpha. Just a piece of useless information. So quickly, I'm just going to give you a 30,000 foot view of what I think and know from 50 years of experience connected to our people. And no matter where I travel in this world, I have 10.5 million frequent flyer miles. I speak 150 times a year around the world. And again, no matter where I go, whether it's New York or Los Angeles, whether it's Miami or Seattle, whether it is San Diego or Maine, whether it's Kenya or Ghana, whether it's Johannesburg or Lagos, Nigeria, whether it's Rio or Bahia, whether it's Jamaica or Belize, the state and condition of Black people is exactly the same. We're at the bottom of every single economic statistic that matters wherever we are, including the continent, where we control 70% of the most important minerals on Earth, and we can't even get them out of the ground. And we have been tricked and bamboozled out of them. But that's another whole topic. I digress. I'm sorry. I'll start with number 7. Now, where did I get this? Is this empirical, Dr. Fraser? Yes, it is. It is empirical. 10 years ago, I commissioned the Gallup organization. What that says, the Gallup organization, to do a national study on the differences between networking between whites and Blacks. You don't think I'm faking it. You can see it says in here, FraserNet.com. It is a 200-word report. The differences are mind-boggling. when we did this study. And by the way, the only reason we got a white company to do it, because we were eminently qualified to do our own study as masters in this data space, in this niche, because I knew that you would believe white people before you believed me. That's a cold hard fact. You would trust them more than you would trust me. In spite of the fact I've written more books on networking than any other white person on earth. Not bragging, I'm just saying. One of the biggest mistakes that was revealed in this study is that Black people don't follow up. This is the seventh biggest mistake. We don't follow up. Less than 5% of us follow up. It's a huge mistake. The fortune is in the follow-up. Don't make that mistake. There is no card or information or data that I receive, whether it's on social media, whether it's text messaging, emails, that I do not leave my office until I have followed up. And I cannot even begin to tell you what that has meant in my life. The fortune is in the follow-up. Easy to say, difficult to do, at least for us. We don't even think it's important. In fact, the study showed that white folk spend 40% more time working on cultivating and developing relationships at work, at home, and in community than Black people. In fact, 27% of Black folks responding in the study said that networking really wasn't that important. The most important thing was my education, my college degree. I don't have a college degree. I have a vocational diploma in carpentry. I have honorary doctorate degrees for my body of work. No one thought I was college material. So me and my sister, who were in orphanages and foster cares and age out of foster care, they sent us to a vocational high school. We couldn't even get a job in our vocation. I was a carpenter trained, but the Italians controlled the carpentry industry in New York at that time. No Black people allowed. So my first real job was mopping floors on the midnight shift at LaGuardia Airport. Oh yeah. In fact, if you go to LaGuardia Airport today, go down into the maintenance department, there's a big picture on the wall. It's a picture of me. I was the best floor mopping Negro in the history of LaGuardia Airport. I won every award you could win for cleaning toilets, and I'm proud of it. Why? Because it's not how you start, it's how you finish. How you do anything is how you do everything. Follow up. Build some skills, understand the art and science. I can give a whole talk on just follow up and how to do that appropriately. The sixth biggest mistake that we make, according to the science, we make a poor first impression. It begins with a very poor self-introduction, our facial expressions and body language. And 25% of Black people don't even have business cards at business meetings. I cannot even begin to tell you how often I've asked a brother or sister that I wanted to engage with for a business card, and they didn't have a business card. They'd be running around, they're talking to the networking guru. Shit, they have had people run into a bathroom, get some toilet paper, and write their information on a piece of toilet paper. You know what I did with that? The same thing you do with toilet paper. You at a business meeting and you're not properly prepared? Your self-introduction is huge. That's huge. There are 5 components, and you don't have a whole lot of time to keep people's attention. You got about 17 seconds. People don't want to know your life story. They want to know enough about you that piques their interest so that they will want to know more about you later, not now. So there are 5 components of a good self-introduction. Who you are, where you're from, and what you do. Now, if you don't have the answers to those, you really shouldn't be on this call. The last 2 are the most important. How do you add value? Because that's congruent with the purpose of life. And then if you really add value, if you're not bullshitting me, quantify it and prove it to me. Or you just saying it. So let me give you my introduction. And then I'm going to close with this. We'll cover the other ones some other day. We're out of time. Hi, I'm Dr. George Fraser from Cleveland, Ohio, by way of Brooklyn, New York. I'm the CEO and founder of FraserNet Incorporated. I write books and put on events and speak on effective networking and economic development. I help people turn acquaintances into friends and contacts into contracts. And over the last 40 years, I've helped over 8,000 people secure more than $2 billion in new business. Good to meet you. Oop, there it is. That's 71 words. It takes 18 seconds. I slowed it down for the purpose of this presentation. What does your self-introduction sound like? I fulfilled the 5 things I told you. Who I am, where I'm from, and I always put in Brooklyn because people are familiar with Brooklyn, and what I do. The last 2 things was how I added value. I help people turn acquaintances into friends and contacts into contracts. And then I quantified it for you with the number of people and how much incremental business in dollars they accrued as a result of developing their networking and interpersonal people skills. So those are the bottom 2. The other 5, number 5, you don't spend enough time networking. Number 4, you don't have a networking system. Number 3, you bring nothing to the table. Number 2, most people think that their IQ is more important than their EQ. It's completely the reverse of that. And number 2, you network to give and not get. Most people are networking the wrong way. That's my story today, and I'm sticking to it. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Dr. Fraser. I'd like everybody to at least give him a round of applause. Digital, that was really good.
Thank you.
Anybody? Yeah, that was really good. Does anybody have any questions? It looks like Rachel Ray, she raised her hand. Go ahead, Rachel.
Absolutely. Thank you, DJ. Thank you, Dr. Fraser. Phenomenal.
Amen.
It's my first time hearing you speak live. When you talked about the pitch, that was absolutely the first time I've ever heard that, the last 2 parts of it. And I think that's
the self-introduction is what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, I think
Self-introduction
that's
is self-introduction is a softer term than pitch. But go ahead. But you've never heard.
Yeah, I'd never heard those last 2 aspects of it, but I've heard it used like in interviews and stuff for jobs. And so I see everything that you said, and I understand how it relates to us in community. When we are going to serve each other in various different capacities, I think the hardest part is having imposter syndrome and also asking for the business. What would be maybe 2 takeaways you may have to assist us with getting over imposter syndrome and either asking for the business, or should we just, like you were saying, give value, give business first before we ask for it? Thank you.
I don't ask for business. I mean, that's just my style. I make it clear on who I am and what I have to offer. Just like I don't give out business cards. Oh, hell no. I don't run around conferences giving out business cards. All right. I give you a business card if in some way you're impressed by what I do and you want more and you request a card. That's the only way you're going to get my card. And I'll give it to you. And by the way, I don't ask people for business cards either, unless I'm impressed with them and I want to continue the relationship.
Yeah.
Right? And neither should you. As I said right at the top, be careful who you hang with. Be selective. And you should be.
Dr. Fraser,
Yes, ma'am.
You
Yes.
mentioned IQ versus AQ. What is AQ? Maybe I should know this, but
EQ.
oh, EQ. Okay.
You know what that is? That's emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, right? The book I recommend that everybody read, the best one written out there, it's a relatively new science. I've read all of them, is this book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Because your EQ will be far more important than your IQ. And most people don't understand that, because most people don't understand even the definition of emotional intelligence. And it's very simply, it is the management of your 5 most important emotions in the cultivation and the developing of human relationships. It's an art and a science. I think it was Maya Angelou who said this, that, I'll try to get this quote right. People don't care what you say, and people don't care what you do, right? The people connect with people fundamentally, who they know, they respect, but most importantly, underline this, brothers and sisters, that they like. You see, I don't give a shit what you are offering. There are at least 50 people that offer what you offer in this world. You're competing with a lot of people.
True that.
Right? So I will ultimately do business with you. Obviously, all things being equal, you got a skill set. But the big thing that no one ever says to you, do I like you? I don't care what you got going for you. Do I like you? Are you a decent human being? If I don't like you, you and I will never tell you that. We just won't do business. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes.
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 Because you got a lot of options. So you do business with people that you know, respect, and you like. And it will be assumed that they have the requisite skills and can perform at the level that you need them to perform. Let me say that a different way. I never tell people to buy from Black people just because they're Black. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You ain't stupid. You'll yes my black ass to death on it, but you ain't stupid. And I learned this from Jews. Jews do not do business with Jews just because they're Jews. That's BS, right? All things being equal, quality, value, and service.
Yep.
You're going to spend your hard-earned money where you get the best quality, value, and service, unless you're stupid. And then the tiebreaker is, I'm black, you get the business. That's the tiebreaker. And it should be the tiebreaker. You should not be supporting a black-owned business that is substandard. You are not helping our businesses. Or if you find one that is substandard, you have to practice your emotional intelligence skills and help them understand that they are substandard. That's a moral responsibility that you have, so that we can get better, so that we can compete. Now, that may sound a little hard-nosed, but that's what it is. That's how I see it. And so I don't know, how many of you have ever been to the Power Networking Conference, which is coming up August the 3rd through the 6th in Houston, Texas?
I have not.
I'm not.
I'm not.
Yeah. Well, if you live in Houston, it's still time to do it. But if you don't live in Houston, it's too late, really. But the conference, we're in our 21st anniversary. We've been doing this for 21 years. The baddest brothers and sisters on the freaking planet. Top black professionals, business owners, and community leaders. 21 years. Forbes magazine named our conference one of the top 5 conferences in America, not to be missed. Not one of the top 5 black conferences. One of the top 5 of all conferences produced in this country. I'm not bragging, I'm just saying. So if you want to connect with important people, you have to be where important people are. They ain't coming to you. You got to go to them. So I post about it every year. I don't really have an aggressive marketing campaign because I don't have to have one. At 21 years, anytime you're producing a global conference for Black people for 21 years, there's something rather genius about that, because Black people will put your ass out of business in a New York minute with some bullshit. Now, you know that.
That's true.
And by the way, they should. I just said that earlier, and they should.
There a virtual option to attend?
Too many options. I'm sorry, I'm ranting. Next question.
You're fine, like a virtual option to attend the conference. Is there a virtual option?
Yes, there are virtual. In fact, during the pandemic, the PNC, the Power Networking Conference, and by the way, if you want to see what's happening, just go to our site, www.powernetworkingconference.com. You'll see all of the faculty members that we call our trainers faculty, just like Harvard has faculty, and then we have some tenured faculty. Dr. Randall Pinkett, who's the chairman of FraserNet's board and a Rhodes Scholar, is a tenured faculty member, etc. It goes on and on and on. So it's a place that you should be. And I want to say this and still be loved. There's no excuse for you not knowing about it. It's been around 21 years.
Yep.
Any other questions? We're 9 minutes over. DJ gave me an hour. I don't want to abuse the time slot. So we're 9 minutes over. I'm good, but I'm just, I'm just dancing at the party.
Dr. Fraser, I do have one quick question for you concerning
Yes,
your
sir.
last point with regards to letting Black businesses know that they're not operating in a sense of excellence or spirit of excellence. I should say, what do you feel is a good approach to letting them know, especially given right now with our society and just the hypersensitivity of people when you provide constructive criticism? What suggestions do you might have as far as presenting that information?
It's a wonderful question, Brian. Because you do have to practice your emotional intelligence. It begins with first, before you constructively critique them. Now, I've done this many, many times. So you have to use their product or service to ascertain this is substandard.
Right.
That's A. B, the way I do it is I will invite the person to a breakfast, a lunch, or dinner. We do our best work eating and over food. It's part of our culture. And then I asked them politely if I could give them a constructive review of the service provided. And I begin with the things that I liked. I may have to scratch in the dirt for that, but I'll find 2 or 3 things I liked. Hey man, I really like that suit you had on when we were handling our business. So, just something I like. You find something you like. And then the part 2 is, here's what I think you really need to look into, and there are ways to improve. And I give them my excellent speech. For us, we can't be mediocre. Excellence is the base. Exceptionalism is the goal. Then I do it, with a pleasant voice, this smile on my face. I'm not trying to kill them. I'm trying to teach them, trying to help them. So that's how I would do it.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate your suggestions.
Right. Do not roll up in there and say, nigga, please. That's not good emotional intelligence skills.
Right.
Hey,
Although you may feel like it at times, but anyway, don't do it.
I know that we are running over time. I did have one question, something you had mentioned earlier. You said something about not enough people returning the favor. And so how do we, I guess, address that in a professional manner? When you talk about people giving and being a part of a networking group, we know give first, right? You should be doing that. But if people just don't really even understand that premise of giving first, what is a good way to communicate that?
It's a deep question. And of course, it depends on who you're talking to.
Got it.
I mean, hopefully you have your finger on their pulse. But the fundamental principle around really what you're saying, and which I've written about on many occasions, is that when I speak of giving, I speak of unconditional giving. I don't give with conditions. And I've said this to my wife many, many years ago. I'm giving you flowers, not because you gave me dinner. That's a condition. I'm giving you flowers because I love you and I can. Thank you for giving me dinner. I hope it continues, but that is not a requirement for me giving you flowers. And nor is the requirement of Dr. Fraser from you for giving you dinner. So the conversation, and I've had to correct her on a few occasions, in 50 years. Because she used to say, you know, because you did this, I'm going to do that. I said, no, 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 no. No. Not because I did something. Now, she may think that in her own mind. I mean, I can't control how people think. But I don't believe it should be expressed. I think love and giving should be unconditional. Now, are there people that will take full advantage of that? Oh, hell to the yes. How about most of the time? Right? In my book, Click, 10 Truths of Building Extraordinary Relationships, one of the truths is, I trust you first, you must earn my distrust. And so that's completely the opposite of what we're taught. We're taught that you must earn my trust. I'm saying, no, wrong. I trust that you are who you say you are, that you can do what you say you can do until such time as you disprove it. Now, psychologically, brothers and sisters, what does that do when you tell somebody that? It puts all the pressure on them. Takes all the pressure off of them.
Thank you for that. That was
Right.
good. Does anyone have any other questions before we close?
I wanted to ask a quick question, actually ask for some feedback from Dr. Fraser. And it goes along with a bit of the conversation about sharing and giving as professionals. And sometimes we don't know what to give or how to give or what might be of value. But I wanted to get your feedback, Dr. Fraser. One of the things that I've been doing when people reach out to me on LinkedIn, I try to use that as a first opportunity to give. So if someone reaches out to me, I don't just check it and accept them. I send them a note. And I'm going to quickly read what my note says, and I want to get your feedback.
Sure.
So my note might say to you, Dr. Fraser, thank you for the invitation to connect. May I ask you what led you to my profile? Because I know the value of connecting with like-minded professionals. I invite you to take a look at my connections and let me know if there's anyone in my network that you would like me to introduce you to. If you've been following me, then you know I'm passionate about people development. I learned to love more about you and your work. So I typically do that when somebody reaches out to me on LinkedIn, and the feedback that I get from them is, thank you so much for making that offer. I'll look through your network. So we haven't even physically connected or had coffee or a meeting, but I'm attempting to be a giver. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that as an approach.
Let me give you, I'll give you my rating. I do it in stars. The highest you can get is a 5-star.
Okay.
The lowest you could get would be no stars.
Okay.
In this case, I would give you 5 stars.
Oh,
So if I received that note from you, you would probably, as I say on LinkedIn, more than likely, you would get a big thumbs up from me, which is just a sort of a softer way to say thank you. And maybe a few words that say, let's stay connected, right? An invitation. So I'm really reversing the invitation. I'm saying to you back in the simplest way, you can do the same. Let's stay connected. I like what you said. And I do. I'm not just saying it because you're on. I like what you said. I liked your attitude of giving. I liked your openness. That's powerful stuff. Now, here's what's going to ultimately happen, because again, you know, most people are not going to take you up on it. But you're going to make them feel good. You're going to make them feel worthy. You're going to make them feel loved and respected. That's a powerful thing.
well, 5 stars from Dr. George Fraser is huge for me.
That's
So
huge. And I don't
my
give
rates just
5
went up.
stars.
My rates just went up because of that.
But that was perfectly said. Now, if I could give it one little tiny critique, the shorter, the better.
Okay, I received
You
that.
made a very generous offer, but just know, the shorter, the better. If you look at any of my memes, Generally speaking, on my social media, you can read my memes in less than 15 seconds, 20 seconds.
Do you do all your own posting?
Yeah, I do all of it myself. I
Wow.
don't have anyone that manages. No, because it's very personal. Very personal. Right? And it really is how I feel that moment. So nobody can really do that for me. And then I enjoy it. I get a lot of feedback and I enjoy it. Sometimes I, get critique and I love that too. All right. Don, I think yesterday I posted just a little critique on my favorite album of all time, Miles Davis' Kind of Blue.
Oh, 100%. That's righteous.
And I got a bunch of comments, the greatest album. And then I told a little story, a little micro story about Miles, a personal story. But the purpose of the meme was to provide them the Zoom link with that classic cover, Kind of Blue cover, of the entire album that people can actually listen to it based on what I said. I just think it's the greatest jazz album ever recorded, one of the greatest albums ever recorded. It is a monumental masterpiece in the idiom of jazz. And then I had a personal experience with Miles that cemented, my love for him. And it's a real simple little story. When I was a messenger on the streets of Manhattan at 14 years old. And I got a package to take to Columbia Studios. This was in August of 1959. So I took the package and I went in the door, and the engineer, it's a booth, there was nobody there. So but I could see some people far away who were musicians, and they were sitting around. So I knocked on the window to get their attention because I had to deliver this package, and you worked on tips. And Miles came over to the engineering booth, took the package, gave me a $5 tip, and then said, "Get the fuck out of here." I smiled from ear to ear. I fell in love with him, and that he even spoke to me. All right. That was my encounter with Miles Davis. Now, what was going on August 1959? It was the second session of Kind of Blue.
Wow.
This is Columbia Studios. So it was a Forrest Gump moment. So I wrote that little story, but I don't even remember how I got on this point, but anyway, I was just talking.
I thank you again. I know we're wrapping things up. Rachel, I think you had your hand up again one more time. Or I don't know, maybe she.
Okay. I thought of two quick, well, maybe a comment and a question. For your body of work, Dr. Fraser, and everything you've done and who you are today, I know you have a legacy plan. So what should we expect to see, once you've transitioned over to from being an elder to an ancestor? What's FraserNet gonna look like in that phase? Who's taking over? Who should we connect with after you? And
DJ Rachel is going in and out and breaking up. And of course, when you get 77, your hearing isn't as good. Can you summarize her question to me, please?
She's wanting to know who's going to be taking over when you pass on.
What a brilliant question. And actually sort of an emotional question. And it is something I'm actually going to cover at the Power Networking Conference in Houston on our opening day, Thursday. The future of all things FraserNet, to begin with its written succession plan. 3,000 words, a complete succession plan.
Wow.
Just fortuitous as you ask me that question. And what will it look like into the future? and who will run it, who will lead it and who will run it. Assuming, as I will say to my audience, that my people feel that carrying this on is worthy and it should be succeeded. That's the assumption. Because here's what I do know. Without a succession plan, this is advice to all of you if you have a business. Without a succession plan, when I die, this will die. 40 years of work. And as I said earlier, we must model the behavior that we expect from our people. And it's one of the big mistakes that Black entrepreneurs, male and female, make. No succession plan. That's a wonderful question and timely. And by the way, you just got a scoop, because no one else on earth other than the people who are going to learn about it next Thursday knows this.
I appreciate that. Well, thank you again, Dr. Fraser. Again, we're 25 minutes over. Thank you all for chiming in and joining. And definitely there might be a part 2 to this that we, because I felt like you just gave us a little snippet of all of your wisdom. But again, thank you again, everyone, and everyone enjoy the rest of your day.
Go to, hey, everybody, go to Amazon. You can get a copy of Success Runs in Our Race. You can get a copy of Click and some other books that I've written, right? Read.
Oh, you'll be happy to know that DJ Sessions gave everyone one of your books for BDG.
Well, that's called leadership.
Race. Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, DJ. Appreciate you. Love you all. Keep doing God's work. Chart a good and righteous course, then stay that course, and all that is due you will come to you.
Thank you.
Keep that kind of blue movement.
All right, then. Take care.